An anti-hero is a flawed character, meaning not the usual person you expect the story to be about. He lacks moral values or is fighting himself trying to get to redemption. He could be a murderer or a thief, yet he is the center of the story, and we root for him and are eager to follow his story. The anti-hero exists since the beginning of storytelling. However, one of the first time where we are going to witness such a character on television was through Tony Soprano, the protagonist of the TV show The Sopranos. The TV show started in 1999 and went on for 6 seasons until 2007. I am your host, ksiyer, and this is Soulima podcast. Spoilers alert. In this episode, I will tackle some details that might ruin some intrigues of the show. It's an 86-hour-long show. To spoil all of it, I will need superpowers. Anyway, if you haven't watched it yet, go ahead and do that. If you don't mind the spoil, stick around. Tony Soprano is the head of 2 families, or to be more precise, 2.5. The first one is his regular family, wife and kids, and the second is the New Jersey mafia family, the DeMeo family. And the half part was a reference to the Ducks family that decided to spend part of the year in his swimming pool. And by ducks, I mean ducks. It's not a sophisticated word to imply some insider crime secret code. Tony will get attached to the birds as a projection of his own family, and when they will fly off, he will experience his first panic attack that will lead him to see a psychiatrist. We will get back to that later, but for now, let's focus on the 2 families he leads. Due to the nature of his role among the 2 families, this creates a real dilemma, because if he is trying to be a good dad and a good husband with his regular family, he needs to be ruthless with his crime family. This creates a lot of pressure on the man that obviously affects him psychologically. But don't be fooled, killing people is not really what bothers him. Tony was born surrounded by violence and witnessing his dad and uncle beating up people in the street in broad daylight. So beating up people or killing them is just business as usual.
When he beat the shit out of that guy, I went to the class, I told him how tough my father was.
Do you think that's how your son feels about you?
Yeah, probably. And I'm glad. I'm glad if he's proud of me. But that's the bind I'm in, because I don't want him to be like me.
What really puts pressure on him is that he needs to keep his criminal side hidden from his regular family, and more specifically his kids. Carmela, his wife, knows how to turn a blind eye on her husband's activities. She knew what she was getting into when she said yes. But his kids are completely in the dark. Well, they are suspicious and will grow more and more suspicious as the story progresses, and Tony is in no position to open up about his secrets to them. Lying to them is deceiving them, which in turn creates a mistrust between all of them. We see that on the college episode from the first season, where Tony takes his daughter Meadow to visit colleges, giving us a situation where usually a father and a daughter would connect. They spend time together on the road, so it's the perfect opportunity for them to bond, which they do at the beginning, especially when Meadow confronts her father about his illegal activities.
Are you in the mafia?
Am I in the what?
Whatever you want to call it. Organized crime.
The fact that he admits, even partially, restores part of the trust. Meadow can finally see that her dad, unlike her mom, has stopped denying.
Some of my money comes from illegal gambling and whatnot. How does that make you feel?
At least you don't keep denying it like Mom.
Well, of course, this is not going to last forever. In the same episode, the reality of life will catch up with him as he spots a former DeMeo family member, Phoebe Petrulio, turned into an FBI informant. He needs to take action. The responsibilities as the head of the DeMeo family resurfaces. So, choosing between his daughter and La Cosa Nostra, he chose the latter. The murder scene that we'll follow in this episode is paramount to understanding who Tony Soprano really is, in case we were charmed by his nice road trip with his daughter. The killing of Phoebe Petrulio could have been an easy gunshot with a suppressor that would have told us that Tony can kill. But the scene is way more complex than that. He uses wires for strangulations, which is not the quickest way to kill. It takes long seconds where we can see Tony's face in detail, determined and cold-blooded. We see him without a mask. He is merciless and deaf to the supplications of Phoebe. These long seconds that we have to endure tells us not to make any mistake about what Tony is capable of. Those long seconds make us uncomfortable as we are rooting for a murderer. The fact that Phoebe was selling drugs or that he could have killed Tony and Meadow the day before is a meager consolation to justify the horrible scene we've just witnessed. This scene marks a real change in the history of TV shows. It shows how far they can go and pushes the boundary of what is acceptable for broadcast. This scene will open up the way to other anti-hero to thrive on TV. We understand from the get-go that Tony is complex, but how can we get inside his head? David Chase, the creator of the TV show, uses Tony's visit to his psychiatrist, Dr. Melfi, to let us understand him better. To me, it's a smarter than use of narration or breaking the fourth wall, when the character speaks directly to the audience. The use of therapy session actually hits different marks for the audience. First, it shows how taboo it is in the mob world to see a shrink. Shrinks are for the crazy, which in turn means it's for the weak, and when you are the head of a mafia family, you can't show any kind of weakness. So this gives us a lot about the mentality and the culture. Second, having a conversation with a psychiatrist allows us for development, as the ideas of Tony are challenged by Dr. Melfi. If they had used a voiceover, it would have been a monologue. A conversation allows going back and forth as Dr. Melfi asks questions that the audience would want to hear. And finally, of course, we get a pretty accurate idea of how Tony thinks, what scares him, what makes him angry, and does he feel remorse, along with the analysis of a professional that helps us interpret and understand his actions and feelings. Tony Soprano early on said that he feels like the golden age of the mafia is gone.
It's good to be in something from the ground floor. I came too late for that. I know. But lately, I'm getting the feeling that I came in at the end. The best is over.
He is faced with a bigger success than his father. However, he feels like the values he believes in changed. Dr. Melfi tries to make the audience relate by saying many Americans feel this way. The very fact that he is seeing a shrink is in itself a change of values. Society is morphing slowly but surely, accepting new things, and so is the life of Tony Soprano. Should he be the vessel of change within the underworld of the mafia or the guardian of the tradition? That is the question that he is trying to answer. The only problem is that he doesn't know what he wants to commit to, constantly fighting between good and bad, all within himself, between what he thinks and how he should be thinking, trying to change but feeling trapped. And when you don't know what to do, you end up doing nothing.
I'm not a husband to my wife. I'm not a father to my kids. I'm not a friend to my friends. I'm nothing.
One of the characters that to me is a perfect reflection of what Tony's life could have been is Artie Bucco. Artie is his closest friend. They grew up together and have the same cultural heritage. However, the outcome is very different. Artie Bucco is also a chef, but a kitchen chef, hustling to make it in a very difficult business. He's a civilian, as they say, an important and respected. Sometimes you feel like Tony wished he had the life of Artie Bucco, and nobody that can sleep at night without worrying about an FBI raid or an enemy attempting to kill him. He could finally be relieved of the responsibilities and the burden of taking decisions that affect people's life both literally and figuratively. And most importantly, he could tell the truth to his kids and regain their respect. While in the coma, after being shot by his uncle Junior, he dreams of the life he could have had. A simple salesman. While watching The Sopranos, you can't help but think, is Tony responsible for his life or a victim of circumstances? That's a complex question that doesn't have a simple answer. If you have an answer, please leave it in the comments below. Thank you for watching this episode. If you want to support the channel, you can become a Patreon. I'll leave the link in the description. And see you soon for another episode. Take care.